Gorgeous hummingbirds, beautiful butterflies, and more are all available to see at the South Coast Botanic Garden during their bloom, which is now through June. You can awaken your senses at South Coast Botanic Garden.
Welcome back to my channel, California Garden Goddess. Today we're at the beautiful South Coast Botanic Gardens. I'm actually sitting in a tunnel of fuchsia flowers where they're just starting to bloom, and I'm sure this is a perfect place to spot a hummingbird. So we're going to see if we can catch one today, see if we're lucky enough to get one on camera. There is time for their spring business, so they're really busy right now, but yeah. This is a beautiful garden, and I just want to explore it with you today. So join me as we take a tour of the South Coast Botanic Gardens.
I wanted to start off with this cool exhibit that shows exactly what lies beneath the South Coast Botanic Garden. At first, it was a quarry, and then it became a landfill. So it's amazing what they've done with the space over the years. They've really transformed it into a gorgeous garden that anybody would love to visit. Now, the South Coast Botanic Garden is one of the larger gardens in Southern California, especially if you're by the coast. Most of the larger gardens that you'll see are more inland, like Descanso Gardens, that sits on 150 acres of land total. The South Coast Botanic Garden, that is 87 acres of land, which is almost identical to the California Botanic Garden, which is 86 acres. So just 1 acre difference between those two. And then the LA Arboretum, that's another very large one. That's 127 acres. So overall, these are big, beautiful gardens. But as you'll see, as we walk through the fuchsia garden, this was a few weeks ago, so a lot of the stuff was not blooming yet. However, the fuchsias, they start blooming more like late spring and bloom into the summertime. So if you go now, you're going to see a lot more fuchsias than I saw when I went. Uh, Regardless of whether or not there are fuchsias blooming in the garden, it's a nice shady spot. Even on a hot day, it'll probably be very nice and cool in there. And I really love the koi pond and just the little path that you walk through, which is basically a shade house. My parents used to grow their fuchsias underneath the shade of the shade house, and they would wind up just becoming these magnets for hummingbirds. So I was hoping to see a hummingbird when I went into this tunnel that you saw at the beginning of our video. I actually wound up seeing more hummingbirds later on, actually hanging out in the sun, because there weren't a lot of fuchsias blooming. But like I said, there should be way more blooming now. And as we make our way out of the fuchsia garden, you're going to get close. You're going to walk through some formal gardens, which those are really nice. And we're going to walk past an exhibit that wasn't open yet when I went, but is now open. Oh, look at these beautiful butterfly wings. Now, this shows you what you can take beautiful Instagram photos. Here, it's really nice to take a shot, and they are really beautiful to see those beautiful butterfly wings. So that's actually getting close to the entrance of SOAR. Now, SOAR is not included in the price of your admission. If you want to enter the garden and see SOAR, it's going to be $23 for adults that are 18 and older, and it varies in price from there. But it's basically an extra $6 plus your admission to go and see SOAR. I highly recommend doing it, and I'm actually planning to try to get back to South Coast Botanic Garden to see the SOAR exhibit. It's been going on for 4 years now, and we're going to walk by the outside of it so you can see some of the tropical butterflies from outside. They look huge. They're much bigger than a lot of the butterflies that you would normally see in California. I think the largest butterfly in California is the giant swallowtail. And I've seen some of those. They're very large, but they can get even bigger than that. So look at this cool wall of wings. I thought that was pretty cool. You can actually donate to help with butterfly conservation. So something cool to think about. I almost forgot to mention that you can actually feed butterflies as well. That it is another $6 on top of the $23 that you're paying if you're not a member. So, anyway, something just to think about, that you can actually use a flower vial filled with nectar to use, and the butterflies, I think they're going to come right up to you. So, I really want to try that. I'm going to obviously show that on this channel once I do that. But let's take a walk now through the other gardens. We're going to see a lot of beautiful plants such as calendula and some other early summer blooming plants. There's lots of things to see in the garden. There's always something new blooming, and I really like how they did their beds with a lot of variety of color and texture. They're really, really nice for pollinators, and you're going to probably see a ton of pollinators when you go to the Botanic Garden. Now, if you go when it's a little bit cloudier outside, I think that the flowers look better, but you're not going to see as many bees or butterflies or even as many birds as you normally would see when it's sunny. So, if you can, try to visit during different weather. Like, I love to visit gardens when it's raining and or after it's rained. It's really beautiful, and I've seen some amazing things after that. So look at this beautiful hummingbird. I was so excited to see that. She was hanging out, or maybe it was an immature male, anyway, hanging out and drinking from that flower. I was unable to find the name of that, so if you know what the name of that flower is, please chime in below in the comments. I'd love to hear from you, and I don't know what that flower is. So anyway, love you have your help with that. So all those orange flowers that you're seeing, those are all the calendula. I just love calendula. And look how we walk up to this little spring here and this little pond to see turtles. Kids love looking at turtles, and I think it's so much fun to watch them as they bask in the sun. They stretch out their legs and their heads, and it's really cute when they relax. But anyway, as we keep walking through the gardens, you're going to see lots of splashes of color. I'm thinking that they have a lot of milkweed planted in the garden. Oh, look at all those nasturtiums. Now, nasturtiums in Southern California, they're beautiful, but they're kind of almost like a weed. I had to get rid of mine. They have a bunch of, I think it was aphids all over them, so it's time to get rid of those. But anyway, on to the rest of the beautiful garden beds at the South Coast Botanic Garden. It's hard to believe that this used to be a landfill, but it makes me wonder if maybe the soil is actually even richer because of everything that's been placed into the garden. Now, I think that it's a great use of space to make something that was basically like a toxic wasteland into a garden. And the plants, I think, will actually help make an environment more habitable. But it's pretty cool how that works. And that's one of the reasons why I love gardens so much, because you can really just change like your whole environment by with just a small amount of space. Now, I love seeing these beautiful trees. I think these are forsythia trees. Correct me if I'm wrong, but they have beautiful yellow flowers, and I think those are something so gorgeous. I've noticed that garden answer, she has beautiful forsythia. She said they bloom for a really long time, like weeks of blooming. And I'm wondering if we would get the same result here in Southern California. I know she's definitely in a much colder zone than us, and maybe she has better blooms because of that. But anyways, you keep continuing through the garden. This is a beautiful entrance to the gorgeous lawn area. Now, I didn't walk onto and around on the lawn, but this looks like a perfect place for people to hold a wedding. Look at that. Look how huge that is. That's a huge wedding that you could have there. That's definitely a couple of acres of grass, I'm guessing, that they have to mow. And yeah, it's nice to see that kind of beautiful grassy area. As we keep going through the garden, they have a lot more plants that are more like drought tolerant as you continue. And they definitely have different sections of plants throughout the garden. So it's a pretty cool thing to see. And definitely one that, bring your walking shoes because you're going to be walking a lot when you come here. Don't worry if walking is difficult for you. You can take a tram and go around the entire perimeter of the park. I did not walk the tram route this time, but it is probably the easiest route to get around the entire garden and something that I would recommend for a nice walk. I love taking all the little pathways, and I just found myself meandering through tons of places in the garden. Now, right now, in the spring, the rose garden is probably the best place to see beautiful blooms at the South Coast Botanic Garden. Look at these gorgeous roses. I love the way that these roses looked and the smell. The scent of these roses was even better. One thing I've noticed about a lot of modern roses is they don't really have a lot of scent anymore, but you find these heirloom roses, they've been here for a long time and they smell amazing. My roses in my garden, a lot of those have been there since the 60s, and they are just so established, and they have wonderful scents, all kinds of scents, everything from like more of a citrus scent to that super sweet rose scent. It's amazing to just smell everything. And I don't know, maybe one day they will invent smell-o-vision, but until then, just imagine it and maybe plant a few roses in your garden to get that wonderful scent. So the rose garden will be blooming uh, pretty well through the summer. I love how roses are able to handle the heat pretty well in Southern California. And the South Coast Botanic Garden is pretty close to the coast, so it doesn't get as warm as it does by Descanso Gardens and the California Botanic Garden. But yeah, this is one of my new favorites to visit. I had not been to the South Coast Botanic Garden before, but I'm definitely planning to return. Now, there are different gardens. I didn't see all of them when I made my visit to the South Coast Botanic Garden. So I just wanted to mention a few of those because these might be places that you'll have time to visit. I just didn't have a lot of time, and it was a huge garden, so I didn't get to see everything I would have wanted to. But you can see different groves, like there's a banyan grove, and that's actually a ficus collection. And they have a bunch of, like their roots just have this massive tangle of roots. And some clivias, they may still be blooming. It's probably getting a little bit late for clivias to bloom, and transitioning now more into the summer color. Now, there are California native plants that are blooming. There's a desert garden, a display greenhouse. We saw the fuchsia garden, and you're going to see even more like the garden for the senses, the Japanese garden with the koi pond, and the Mediterranean garden. So, yeah, there's so many different sections of the South Coast Botanic Garden to explore. This is one that I regret that I did not buy a membership for, because now looking at the bloom and everything, I could have applied the price of my ticket to my membership, and you make up that price pretty quickly if you're going, not bloom, sorry, the soar is with the butterflies. Bloom is free with general admission. That's just talking about all the beautiful blooms that you're going to see. So it was also really nice at the front entrance. They told me to definitely target the rose garden for the beautiful blooms. And I think that right now they're probably going to be telling you to hit up that fuchsia garden. So yeah, this is just one of the best places that I've seen in Southern California in terms of beauty and just plain gorgeous. Look at this. Look at where you can take photos in there. Look at those cute little flower chairs. Aren't those adorable? I love those. So here are some of those succulents that they're talking about. And then those trees were probably, I think those are plum trees, maybe flowering plum trees. Anyway, yeah, look at how beautiful it is down there. And then you can see the words bloom. So that's just from looking down from the rose garden. So I love this. I have to wonder about like how they built all this into that landfill and into that, which was actually built into that, quarry in the first place. And one other garden that's been built in a quarry that is absolutely gorgeous and beautiful to see. It was Bouchard Gardens, and that's in Victoria, British Columbia. Now, Victoria is actually on Vancouver Island, but it's not not connected to the city of Vancouver, which the city of Vancouver is across and on the mainland of British Columbia, and then Victoria is on an island. But anyway, um, Bouchard Gardens was built nearby Victoria and built into an old quarry. So, South Coast Botanic Garden was one of the few to be actually first to build onto landfill. But here is that beautiful butterfly. Now, this is a type of swallowtail. I'm not sure of the exact type. If you know what it is, chime in below. It's hard to tell sometimes with all the different types of swallowtail butterflies. But in the Botanic Garden, you're going to find lots of cool places to rest, relax, have a nice conversation, and just enjoy the beauty of nature. One of my favorite places is, oh, ooh, that's a nice verbena. I like those. Those are getting pretty tall. Anyway, this is a nice sculpture that you can see. You can actually spot a number of different sculptures throughout the garden. If you want, you can do a little scavenger hunt to look for all of them. Kind of like Pokemon. Got to catch them all, got to see all the sculptures. Um, this tree was really beautiful. I think it's called an orchid tree, but I am not sure. It's so gorgeous. And now we're about to enter the hidden meadow. I really like this. It was much bigger than I thought it would be, and it was very shady, a nice spot to hang out on a hot day. There are so many of these actual meadows in the South Coast Botanic Garden. I did not see nearly as many as I wanted to, but I really like this sculpture you can walk through. I walked through both ways. It was pretty fun. But yeah, this is actually near Acacia Loop. You'll find this trail and it leads you here, and it's really, really nice, and secluded and really just beautiful spot to sit and relax. I spotted another sculpture, beautiful, and then on the way out, I went on this trail that was really, really nice. It was just a nice woodland trail. It's been there for a long time. And the Bucklow Trail, or I might have pronounced that wrong, but it was a nice way to exit the garden, very shady. This is a great spot to go if you love gardens. If you just want to see like a bunch of beautiful flowers, you can stick to kind of like the upper part of the Botanic Garden. I recommend taking the tram tour, especially if you have a hard time getting around, because it takes you to a lot of different parts of the park or the garden, and you don't have to walk as far. Now, if you like this content, don't forget to like this video and subscribe and ring the bell if you want to be notified of all the latest garden tours, as well as easy garden do-it-yourself projects. My goal is to bring gardening and gardens to everybody. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you, and I'll catch you in the next video. Have a great day, and see you later.